to go through, and we'll go through those now. I'm going to start off with you, Jimmy. The talk will last about 20 minutes, so everybody's kind of got 5 or so minutes to just go through their different topic areas. So Jimmy, first off, thanks for joining us.
Well, thank you very much. It's great to be here.
And I suppose I introduced a name there when I introduced you, saying you were the program manager for DASBE. And maybe just anybody who isn't familiar with DASBE, it would be good to just give a little overview of what that is and what it means.
Yeah, so DASBE stands for the Digital Academy for the Sustainable Built Environment. And the idea of the project, it's a 5-year project, and the idea of it is it's funding from the HCI. And our mission statement really is to develop new programs that are more accessible to the construction industry. So it's really geared towards construction industry professionals who are working and will come on board maybe at part-time or evening courses, and it's geared towards sustainability and the built environment. So it's broken into sustainability, energy efficiency, and digitalization.
So there's multiple partners obviously involved in the DASBE programme, and just for the purposes of our talk this evening, we're going to focus on the programmes that are available from ATU. So could you give us a brief overview of the areas that are available at ATU?
Absolutely, yeah. So what we're doing in ATU, we've quite a focus on level 9. So we have 3 programmes at level 9. So we have the first of those 3 is the Building Regulations programme, and that's broken into a higher diploma and a master's. So that is developed with Irene Hayden in Galway. So it's quite useful in that you can pick your electives in that programme. So if you're more interested in part A or B or C of the building regulations, or if you're more interested in the insulation fabric, you'd look at part L. Very popular one there, the fire at the minute, so part B is quite popular. The second level 9 then is the very popular at the minute as well, is the circular economies head up by Mark Kelly. And again, that's the same breakdown. We've got the cert diploma and the masters, and you can progress through those. And final one is BM Digital Leadership, and that's the program that I chair myself. And again, it's broken into those cert diploma and masters level. And you can apply through the website and also through recognised prior learning.
Great. And just when I look back to the title of this talk, it is about funding opportunities as well. So can you explain why DASBE exists in terms of like the supports it has in terms of funding people to achieve these awards?
Yeah, so the funding is quite good in DASBE at the minute. So it's a 5-year project. So we're in halfway through the project at this stage. And the way the funding works is we fund 2,500 per 60 credits. So if you were doing a 60 credit program, you'd be looking at a 63%. That would be roughly speaking, your funding for that program. So, and then if you want to do your masters, that's 90 credits. So you get funding again for that.
Brilliant.
So that's how it's broken down.
Yeah, and I suppose that's a great thing to promote as well, in that it's eligible. Everybody is eligible to gain that once they're on these programs. You don't have to apply for a special fund or anything like that. It's built into the fees, isn't it?
Yeah. So once you're in the construction industry and you're within our pillars of digitalization, circular economy, and sustainability and energy efficiency, so that would be all identified within the program. So once you're in the built environment, and a lot of the students that would come in would be from industry. So, they come in at night or in the evenings, or a lot of the programs are online or blended. So we're gearing it towards, upskilling professionals that are already in employment.
Great, that's brilliant. Look, thank you. I'll leave it there, Jimmy, with yourself, and thank you very much for giving us all that information. And I suppose that's one thing you mentioned there, that the demand is there for these graduates, that it is worth going in, that the skills are needed. So James, you are a current student of the Masters in the Built Environment. Now, I know you've had an issue with your camera there, so we're just seeing a lovely picture of you at the minute. But just if you could talk us through why you picked the course and, how are you getting on at the moment?
Hi, Cleo. I suppose I picked the course because I was looking for a challenge. I suppose I'm working in local authority in the housing capital section, and building regulations are changing quite rapidly over the last couple of years, especially in relation to energy, and I suppose a lot of the other parts are being updated. So I suppose I wanted to have a look at my knowledge base and just make sure I was up to scratch, but also just to see where give me an opportunity to interact with say peers in the industry to see what developments were happening, and just improve my knowledge kind of across the board. And like I say, I suppose the main thing was to challenge myself.
Yeah, no, that's great. And again, a lot of what you're learning, I know we talked previously, you were saying it is a blended learning approach that you're taking at the minute, because you're obviously trying to balance work and studies as well. So how are you finding that?
Just, I suppose, in relation to the online learning, it is blended. We have most of the courses actually online, and then we would like this semester we've had a couple of Saturdays, and last year it was Fridays. And I'm old school. I quite enjoy the in classroom. Just from the point of view of you actually get to meet people. You don't have the situation where the camera is turned off. It's a bit ironic that my camera is turned off at the moment, but it's just you get a feel for, I think, just for who your fellow students are. But I just find that when online there's quite a lot of information that you're taking in, and it's I suppose this is me, and it could be an age thing, that because I kind of grew up in a classroom environment, and it's only now that the online facility is there, that I can kind of take so much in online, but I know I absorb it more in a classroom facility. Now, I don't think I could do the course if we didn't have the online element, because I just wouldn't have the time to give it in classroom. But I think it's a nice to have the mix for me, because what say the downside of one for me, I get the benefit of the other. So it is kind of blended the whole way through.
Oh, that's great. Like, look, you're seeing the benefits of both sides as well, as you say.
Absolutely, yeah.
And just on that, I know we talked as well. So the theme of it is funding and accreditation. So on the funding side, the fees you're benefiting, because this is a DASBE approved program, and for that reason, then there's obviously reduced fees. And I know you were mentioning your employer is also supporting you.
Yes, because it's accredited, my employer actually pays the fees up front, and I actually pay the employer back through my salary every payday. And then once I'm successful, I can apply to have 75% of the fees I suppose returned, which is great. I mean, there's the incentive to do it, because of the fact that it's paid up front, and I don't have to worry about that. But it's also the incentive of that if I am successful, that I can look to get some of the funding back, which is great.
Yeah, it's a great model. It just makes it more accessible, I suppose. And this is the whole thing about these programs, to make sure that people can actually, because the skills are needed and in the marketplace, and everybody is crying out for people to upskill in these areas. So we do have to make sure that the funding model works, and then the study mode works for everybody as well. So I think you've been a great example of that, and I'll thank you for coming along. I'll finish up there with you, because I know you're in the middle of assessments and exams, and it's not a great time. But anyway, look, I wish you the best of luck with the rest of your studies, and you're just finishing year one, is that right?
Yeah, just finishing year one, and I have to say it has been enjoyable from the point of view of I'm not only am I learning, but I'm actually putting what I'm learning into kind of my daily work routine. Brilliant. And I suppose I'm also learning aspects of the building regulations that I knew were there, but I didn't have to interact with them to the detail I'm doing now, and that's actually, I'm finding them very interesting. So there's so many pluses.
Brilliant. Oh, look, it's great to hear.
Okay.
Thanks, James. Now I will finally move on to Brian, who's been waiting patiently to speak to us. Brian, thanks for coming along today. So, Brian, you've been working for some time in the flexible and part-time programs across the Department of Civil Engineering. So I wanted to just talk to you really about the funding partnerships that are there and the accreditation. So if you talk to me about the brief overview of the online programs that are available in civil engineering.
Yes, Cleo, thanks. And our civil engineering programs, again, similar to Jimmy's programs in the DASBE program, are mostly on level 9. The suite that we developed a number of years ago, about 2015 was our first of these level 9 programs, was developed in conjunction with the Department of Transport and Local Authority Services National Training Group. And it started off with a cert in road maintenance engineering, network management, aimed at the roads services sector in local authorities. And then what happened was that we developed a master's program supported by the Department of Transport, and the full master's is in road and transport engineering. And that allowed for students to progress from the cert, which effectively came the first year of the master's program, onto a diploma and or a master's over 3 years. So again, it's part-time online, blended at a certain degree, in that the students would attend workshops up in Sligo, where the program's based, and that would be maybe twice every semester. And then we also have developed a postgraduate certificate in road safety audit and engineering with the support of Transport Infrastructure Ireland. And we also have some other certs associated with the second year of the master's program, and a special purpose award in roads in bridge engineering as well, which is also a subset of the master's program.
So great. No, that's just, I suppose, the scale of the operation that's available there. And the funding opportunities then that come out of those. So as you said, they've been developed in partnership with LASNTG and Transport Infrastructure Ireland. Just what kind of funding options are there for people, and if they are working in those environments?
Okay, well, 80% of the funding is actually directly for the master's program and the cert in road maintenance, etc. That there is supplied or provided by the Department of Transport, and the LASNTG effectively manages that budget on behalf of the departments, and also manages the budget on behalf of the local authorities, who pay the remaining 20%. So effectively, any local authority engineers on the programme will get their funds or the fees paid completely. For private sector, outside of the local authorities and state bodies, it's similar to maybe what happens with that James has mentioned earlier. The private sector, they might have a deal or might have some sort of arrangement with the employees, and we have a number of consulting engineers in the design area particularly that would fund their employees to do the program, because it is a fully accredited program. And therefore it becomes quite beneficial for the consulting engineer particularly. And we have some from contractors and other areas of engineering, civil engineering, and particularly in the roads and transport area involved. But the funding has really been very, very successful over the last number of years, and allows for a student to progress right up to master's level, get a full accredited master's, and be funded the whole way along, as long as they're successful in each stage of the program.
Great. No, that's brilliant. And in terms of the accreditation, then, I know that there is an accreditation from Engineers Ireland associated with some of those courses.
There is actually, and just to mention that the Engineers Ireland accreditation was applied for a few years ago. That we had COVID, and we managed to actually set up our model that we developed with Engineers Ireland. Actually, they've used that model for accreditation since during COVID, and also after that as well, for sort of a blended accreditation process. And we have full accreditation right up to chartered level for our masters. It's actually the only and first master's program to have accreditation that's based on an online mode of delivery with Engineers Ireland. So that's been backdated right back to our first graduates in 2017, and we hope to extend that to for the next 5 years. We expect to, in fact. We also have programs that are going to look for accreditation. I've got to mention we also have geotechnical and structural engineering as well. Programs as a joint geo and structural engineering program but there's no funding for that. But it's a private sector funding, but there is some springboard funding for that program. But yes, in roads and transport engineering, the accreditation has been really important. Particularly for consulting engineers, but also for local authority engineers, where it's really important to have that status of being able to sign off on projects and have that professional responsibility and indemnity for projects. So it's really important that our graduates are accredited by Engineers Ireland.
Brilliant. No, that's great. Thank you. And I suppose that covers the topic nicely, because there's obviously the skills gap, the need there for the upskilling in the programs, and then to be able to facilitate the funding and ensure accreditation so that the employer is actually assured, again, that they're going to get out of it, something if they are going to funding support it as well. So, and just, I suppose the last question I would put to you, Brian, just on this, like typically, what type of applicants do you generally see coming into your programs? Like, do people say, I want to do a master's, or do they start going, I'll dip my toe in, I'll do the cert, and then I'll see how I get on? Like, what's the general?
Yeah,
concept?
you get a mixture of the two. I mean, our first students were all doing the cert, and many of them just completed the cert, and they were happy to get a recognised qualification at level 9, which really helped them in the workplace in road maintenance engineering, network management. The students that progress to the masters, they're often people that they want to get a master's, possibly for accreditation, to become chartered engineers. But in some cases, they just want to, for career progression, to move into other areas, to getting up a grade within their organisation. They find that very, very useful. And the feedback we got from our graduates during the process of accreditation was really illuminating, because it was quite clear that they had there were very benefits from not only having more knowledge and be able to get into more advanced management roles within their organisation. They also, as I say, were able to be able to manage and the design process and get involved in research, and many have actually moved across from the local authority to private sector and vice versa, because they had they got a wider perspective of the whole road services sector and the road design sector. So yeah, it's really been a mix of people, and we get some non-standard applicants, and we have recognition of prior learning processes for those that don't have a full BEng honours degree in civil engineering. Sure. They can apply, and we have a very well recognised and tested a process of reviewing applications through recognition of prior learning, which has been very successful as well.
Great. No, thanks for that. And I know Jimmy mentioned that as well, recognition of prior learning. So it's applicable to all the programs that we mentioned today, that, it is if you go to atu.ie/RPL, you'll find out more information about key contacts there as well. And look, I'm just going to close off the talk there, and thank everybody for their time. Thank you, Jimmy. Thank you, James, and thank you, Brian. Again, we were only able to touch on and give people a flavour, but I suppose it's just to break down barriers and explain that there is funding options out there. There is accreditation. There's a lot of programs. You can start at a certificate level. You can build to a postgraduate diploma and a master's, and that's kind of really what we want to show, that it's really accessible to do this, and our students do generally thrive, as James mentioned there, and whatever mode suits them, they are able to then progress in their career and use the skills that they're learning in their daily lives. So thank you very much for your time, and the live Q&A continues. So if anybody has any questions from today, please do drop a question into our live Q&A. So thank you very much, everybody. Goodbye.
Thank you.